called Yahweh by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rekah HaKadash. I'm back to you with another straight to the point moment. I'm going to wrap up this topic dealing with the new covenant. I'm going to wrap this up. All right. And it's dealing with death and hell being destroyed to the point of no return of those souls that were in death and hell, or in that bottomless pit that he called up in the last day. All right. Last day of judgment. So those souls or beings or spirits, however you want to put it, death and hell will be cast in the lake of fire, which will burn forever. Forever, man. Not eternity, but forever. All right. Let us get to it, man. I'm going to go right back to the book of Revelations, chapter 20. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'll start at verse 6 and I'll read down to 14 so that we can get a refresher on the wisdom being shared. All right. And this is all new covenant, the tenets, the doctrine, and even life itself and salvation through Hu HaMashiach, which is the new covenant. All right. Revelations chapter 20, verse 6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. So those who have been resurrected in the first resurrection, which are with Hamashiach, death, the second death hath no power over them. But they shall be priests of the Most High and of Hamashiach, of who? Hamashiach. So they are priests of the Most High, Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. All right. So at a point in time, Hamashiach will reign, but everything will be delivered back unto who? The Most High. And that'll be another topic which I'll bring out, but not today. Getting straight to the point. All right. Getting straight to the point. Verse 14. Matter of fact, I'll start at verse 12. And I saw the dead and small, Salakia, and I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh, and the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books. So no, the other books, the dead are being judged out of those books, according to their works. And then the other book, which is the book of life, which is the Lamb books, there be found those souls or those spirits which were in the first resurrection with him, that received what? Salvation through him, which therefore became what? The sons and priests of the Most High God and Hamashiach himself. This is the context, all right? And continue in verse 12. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. Verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. So notice the context here is the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death, and what else? And death and hell. Who? Hell delivered up the dead, the who? Dead which were. Past tense, which were, past tense, which were in them. This is past tense. You brothers need to understand this, man. Now you have ministers in the new covenant, a small group that understand this, but then you have those who are within the new covenant that don't understand it. And even much worse, those who are outside of this receiving of the gospel, they understand nothing. All right? For had they believed in Moses, they would have also believed in him. Which is Hamashiach. But he said here again, I'm going to read again. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. This is a past tense thing. So now you have souls what? Awaiting judgment. And they were judged every man according to their works. So you got those judged out the books and those who are being judged out the book of life. Two different contexts that you can go out into. But again, brothers, wrap this up and to say that it's an all collective. No, it's not. It's not collective. It's not saying it's separate. This goes all the way back to law. He said, ye shall divide the unholy from the holy. And you seeing this same division here in Revelation 20. All right. Verse 14. And death and hell, what? Death and hell, what? Death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Now, did you hear that? If you've been paying attention, not just only me, but other brothers who are brought down, who have this understanding, the Spirit revealed this unto them. If you've been listening, let me read that again. I'm going to go back up to where I started to verse 6, and then I'm going to drop all the way back down to verse 13 and 14 so you can understand the context. All right. Verse 6, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. All right. They are separated from who? On such the second death hath no power. Now that death of the second hath no power on those in the first resurrection that are separate from who? Those who are being judged at the book of the dead. So notice, I don't have to jump to 50 other precepts to get this understanding. It's right here. And if need be, to break it down to a brother who wants and the Most High deem to receive that, I'll go to every precept possible. But here, for those who have that quickening spirit and have that understanding, that eye to see, that spiritual eye salve, you don't have to jump around. It's right there in verse 6, and verse 13 and 14 gives you the conclusion. Let me read it again. Verse 6, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. So those who are risen in Hamashiach, Christ, in the first resurrection, on such the second death hath no power, because they have been covered by the blood. They have a covering. They have a mediator. They have what? The gospel of life. But they shall be what? And here's their crown. But they shall be priests of the Most High and of Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So there's your context. Verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And we see the context in verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open. So these books that have been judged are separate from what? Let me continue. And another book, they are separate from this another book, was open, which is the book of life, which is the Lamb book. The book of the Lamb, Hamashiach, his book. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books. So the dead which are in death and hell, they're being judged out of these books. But they're not being judged at the book of life. Verse 13 continuing. And death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. Are you listening? And they were judged every man according to their works. So those spirits or souls that were in death and hell, they are being judged according to those books. They were open, but not out the book of life, which is the Lamb's book. Verse 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. Let me read it again. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. And this is the second death. Verse 15. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life, notice, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Heavy. Meditate. Let us meditate, man. This is heavy. I mean, it's so simplified that even a child can understand this. Take note. Heavy. Heavy, man. Heavy. This is heavy. Context, similitude, and understanding of the parable written right in the same chapter. But some need more. Let's continue, man. The book of Psalms, chapter 49. We'll start at verse 5, man. We'll start at verse 4. Hold on. You know what? Let's start at verse 1. Book of Psalms, chapter 49, verse 1. A psalm for the Psalms of Korah. All right, hear this. Now, we read this back in Exodus, right? About the sons of Korah, right? Those priests being destroyed. Those spirits, right? Let's continue, man. Hear this. All ye people, give ear, all ye inhabitants of the world. Verse 2, but low and high, rich and poor together. As Hamashiach said, we should always have the poor with us, right? Let's continue. My mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. So what lies in the scripture shall be for what? Meditation. And therefore, upon meditation, we shall receive what? Understanding. As the book of Psalms chapter 1, verses 1 through 5 states, all right? Verse 4, I will incline my ear to a parable. Let me read it again. I will incline my ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the harp. So this is the tune. For the elect have attained it, and the rest were blinded. The elect sing a new song, right? Here's the song. I will open my dark saying upon the harp. Verse 5. Wherefore should I fear in the days of evil? Jacob's trouble, or the days of evil. The times of judgment are days of evil. Because evil don't just mean evil, but it also is a similitude to, or a synonym to, judgment. In the days of judgment, will the iniquity of my heels shall compass me about. Verse 6. They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. Verse 7. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to the Most High a ransom for him. Let me read that one more time, man, so brothers can understand. You see, that there's no way in the riches of your doctrines and the wealth that you accumulate off the Lord's flock by any means. And we talking both sinner and man that received the gospel, that is redeemed. You see, this is a chance where when you think about what he says, we shall work out our own salvation in trembling and fear. This goes into that similitude, or that dark scene. Let me read it again. Verse 5. Wherefore should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity of my heel shall compass me about? They that trust in their wealth and boast themselves in the multitude of their riches. Verse 7. None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to the Most High a ransom for him. Now meditate. Now let's continue, man. The book of Psalms, chapter 52. And we'll start at verse 5, man. Heavy. The book of Psalms, chapter 52, verse 5. Yahweh shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place, and root thee out of the land of the living. Salah. Verse 6. The righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. Verse 7. Lo, this is the man that made not Yahweh his strength, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, and strengthened himself in his wickedness. See, there's two parables here. You can deal with Esau on this, and you can also deal with the man who holds his doctrine to be the doctrine of life, and not search after the things of the kingdom, which is in Hamashiach. All right. But the men that are priests to the Most High God should be made like trees. All right. And we should dwell under his covering. All right. We will live forever. This is the immortality established in who? Hamashiach. Verse 8. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of power. I trust in the mercy of Yahweh forever and ever. Now notice, yesterday that mercy that I brought in that scripture was extended unto these same men and people, but they rejected their mercy and chose what? Vanities over mercies, the vanities of men over mercy. Instead of choosing the doctrine of life, which is mercy through Hamashiach, to receive salvation and immortality. They don't choose that. All right, but let us continue. I will praise thee forever because thou hast done it, and I will wait on thy name, for it is good before thy saints. So these men that have received the mercy of God and the gospel, they are the saints. Everybody ain't a saint. Because you're an Israelite doesn't make you a saint. But these men that have received that gospel, the doctrine of life, these are the saints. All right, these are those that receive grace. These are those that receive the promises and the salvations and the covenants that's mentioned in the book of Romans. Not everyone. All right, not everyone. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. We'll start at verse 22, man. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And we'll start at verse 22. All right. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall we all be made alive. And so here's our chance at mercy, salvation, and immortality. According to the old letter, in Adam we all die, right? So those who are stuck in that old covenant, they shall receive the judgments and works of that covenant because they receive not what? Hamashiach. This is why it says this, even so in Hamashiach shall we all be made alive. Verse 23, but every man in his own order. What? But every man in his own order. Hamashiach, the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Hamashiachs at his coming. Who? They that are Hamashiachs at his coming. See, when his return comes, those who received Hamashiach, that are in Hamashiach, they receive that. They are his first fruits. Verse 24, then cometh the end. What? Then cometh the end. For he shall have delivered up the kingdom to Yahweh, even the Father. And this is the context of Revelations 20:6 about him ruling for 1,000 years. See that, you know what? Let the music play, man. Heavy. That was a jewel for all the brothers. Heavy, man. Heavy, man. Heavy, man. Heavy. Kahala, Yahweh, Ma'ashem, Mashiach, Yahweh Shai, Ma'ashem, Kaha, Kadash, man. Heavy. Let me read that again, man. That was heavy. Drop the jewel for the brethren, man. Kahala, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekaha, Kadash, man. I'm not going to let too much out, but that was a jewel for the brethren, man. 1 Corinthians 15:22. For as in Adam all die, even so in Hamashiach shall all be made alive. Verse 23. But in every man in his own order, Hamashiach the first fruits. Afterward, they that are Hamashiachs. So he said there be many saviors. And this is the context of afterward, they that are Hamashiachs. These are the saviors that run with the Savior at his coming. Verse 24, then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to who? Yahweh, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority or power. And as he said in the old, for he must reign till he have put all enemies under his feet. And the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Woo! 27. For he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is expected, which did put all things under him. Woo! Heavy, man. Heavy. Woo! Let me continue, man. This heavy, man. Jewels being dropped out of jewels. This is the understanding of the gospel, man. This is the context of Revelation 20:6. about him ruling for 1,000 years for a time. The establishment of the priesthood and rulership, his saints, his elect men, judging, sitting on thrones, the 12 tribes. And out of those 12 tribes, you will see the righteous seed being brought forth and continuing. This is mentioned in the book of Exodus and Leviticus on how to what? How to till the ground. Well, like I said, I'm not going to put out everything, but I'll give a similitude. There was a time where, if you look in the book of the law, where it states about us having a tree and growing it, and us purging that tree for a certain amount of years, and then in that particular year, we can receive the fruits of that tree, which are considered what? The first fruits. Did you hear what I said? And I'm speaking the oracle of God because it's mentioned there. And this is for the brothers who are in the covenant. And for those who are lacking or do not believe, let you continue. But for those who understand and know, because they are his, hear the similitude again. There was a time, and you can see this in the law, and a brother that understands, let him do the vid. I won't put out no more info. But we will grow a tree, purge that tree for a certain amount of years. And at a particular time, we could take of that tree and eat of that tree. And those fruit that came of that tree in that particular year were considered what? The first fruits, man. Because they have reached maturity, a ripeness, and a cleanliness according to the will of the Father. All right? Let us continue. Verse 27. For he hath put all things under his feet. But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is expected, which did put all things under him. Verse 28. And when all things shall be subdued unto him, then shall the Son also be subject unto him that put all things under him. Woo! Heavy. This is the Father, that Yahweh may be in all. Heavy, man. I'm going to stop right there because so much, man. Let us continue and let us wrap this up. Straight to the point moment. Wrapping this up now, so I don't want to put too much out, man. This is heavy wisdom of the oracles of God, not of me, but of the oracles of God, man, so the brother can understand the stance. All right, the book Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verses 12. Seek not death in the era of your life. This is why he said man should not lean on his own understanding, nor make man your flesh, as brothers have done, making the doctrines of men their flesh, meaning their strength. Let me read it again. Seek not death in the era of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction. All right, so don't pull upon yourself death and hell, man, destruction. With the works of your hands. With what? With the works of your hands. For he has given us the works on what we should do and what we should teach and how we should live. But you reject those things because you want the vanities of man. And you don't want the mercy of God. All right. Verse 13. For Yahweh made not death. For what? For Yahweh made not death. For what? Yahweh made not death. Neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living. And who are the living? Those who receive the gospel of life. Heavy. 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 So what is the understanding? Let us continue, man. Verse 14. For he created all things that they might have their being. And this is speaking upon the living. and the generations of the world were healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them. Woo! Same similitude of that tree being planted, groomed, purged to a certain time, and the fruits that received in that particular year being considered the first fruit, because what? They were helpful. Leaves being what? The leaves being what? Medicine for the nations of those particular trees. Whew, heavy, man. And there is no poison of destruction in them, meaning no sin in them, no guile in them. Or gall is another word for sickness. No destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon earth. This is why death and hell must be cast and destroyed, and those spirits that are in death and hell, subject to it, must be destroyed forever, meaning no return. As this topic of discussion is called, no point of return. Death and hell being cast in the lake of fire forever. Okay? Verse 15, for righteousness is immortal. What is immortal? For righteousness is immortal. Heavy. 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 Ending on this point here, because it's straight to the point. Verse 16, for the conclusion of the context. And what is the conclusion of the whole matter? Fear God and keep his commandments, as the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 12 says. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 1 verse 16. But ungodly men with their works. What type of men? Ungodly men with their works. Who works? Their works and words called it to them. What did they call to them? Destruction. For when they were thought to have it, their friend, they consumed to naught, and made a covenant with it. Made a what? Covenant with it. Made a what? Covenant with it. Heavy. Heavy, man. Finishing. Because they are worthy to take part with it. So they don't have a part in the resurrection, but they take a part in what? The hell and death, which shall be casted in the lake of fire, which is the second death. The covenant they made with hell and death, which I brought out in the last video. Because they are worthy to take part with it. So with that, I want to give all praise to the Most High God, Kahallah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamashiach, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rekah HaKadash. Hell and death being casted away, no point of return for those souls who receive not the gospel. Not my word, but the word of the Most High. To my brethren, Shalom.
世話の焼ける奴らだ。